Deg here. Today I'd like to talk with you about The Witcher. I truly enjoyed the first entry into the Witcher series. It was a new entry from an unheard of company, and the game was incredible. It was something RPG fans could truly sink their teeth into. The game tells the story of one of the Witchers, Geralt of Rivia. A Witcher is basically a genetically mutated human with superhuman powers. The game allowed you to ally yourself politically or attempt to remain neutral. It gave you combat options like choosing your steel or silver sword, fast or strong attacks, dodges, counters, group attacks, each tactic variably useful depending upon which type of enemy you were fighting. The story was top-notch, crafted with care by a small team based out of Poland. The only gripe I really had about the first game was that the control scheme took some getting used to and that you couldn't use potions on the fly. But the game was obviously a labor of love. These guys made this game because they loved the entire concept of it, and that shined through to anyone who played it. Speaking of that small Polish team, CD Projekt Red has done things right. After the release of Witcher 1, they gave away the Enhanced Edition for free to the people who purchased the game. Yeah, that's right. What normally would be paid DLC content from any other publisher out there, CDPR just gave it away as thanks to those who gave them a shot. This might be the defining move that endeared me to this company, but let's get back to talking about the games. Where The Witcher 1 was amazeballs, The Witcher 2 left me wanting. The world was beautiful, the music was fantastic, the graphics and animations were absolutely top tier. The intrigue and political machinations were inspired, the combat was fairly slick, but the story kinda broke my heart. Not in an emotional way, mind you, but more in a goddammit kind of a way. It felt like they ran out of time and had to have the last person you speak with provide you with every bit of thread you need to sew together the holes in the plot. Looking past that, it was a good game, but it wasn't quite as breathtaking as the first for me. Now we come to The Witcher 3. I saw this game backstage at E3 2014 and was even gifted with some quite delicious Polish beer. I take it back. This was the move that endeared me to the company. I do need to be honest with you. I had some pretty unreasonably high expectations for The Witcher 3. The E3 presentation was running a polished demo of the game on an incredibly expensive system. After I asked the presenters about it, they told me they were running it on an i7 Extreme with quad titans and SLI, and this means the game they showed off was gobsmackingly beautiful, as you would all remember if any of you saw the E3 footage on YouTube or anywhere else. But I had reservations about the game's ability to run on current gen at the time and budget gaming systems. That fear was completely unfounded. The game is absolutely gorgeous. Despite the graphical downgrade controversy, it still runs in full HD at 60 frames, or even better if your PC can handle it. The so-called downgrade was CDPR actually taking steps to make sure the game would run on budget gaming rigs and current-gen consoles. I wish they would have left in an E3 quality option in the graphics settings, but they didn't. Oh well, the game still looks great. The writing for the game is superb, they even managed to nail some subtle nuances that were missing in previous titles, expressions and the like, and the people who populate the world, they feel like they have their own lives to live through which you just briefly appear before they return to their home, or play with their kids, or head to work, or have a night in the bar. Seriously, I went looking for a blacksmith after hours, and he was outside one of the local taverns watching and cheering on a fistfight. The main story bits are great. You set off in search of Ciri, Geralt's adopted daughter, and search for clues to her whereabouts through a world at war. And though there are some lulls in said war, it does often feel like it's on the brink of cataclysm. Ciri is playable as you find clues to where she is, whomever is speaking of her to you will trail off and you'll be dropped into a scene playing as her during whichever character's flashback sequence. Ciri's a child of elder blood, and so she's one of the, if not the most powerful creatures in the Witcher's world. She is OP, but you get to play with her through portions of the game. She is seriously just damn. Despite that, Geralt still has a protective quality to him, so you can't ever just assume she can take care of herself, even though she would easily whoop his ass in a one-on-one fight. Of course, there are monsters to kill, far too many to list. After all, the game does take a lot of Northern European lore. So you get werewolves and vampires and ghouls and drowners and trolls and all sorts of interesting creatures to murder. Plus, most of the bigger monsters are, well, people. Yeah. Oh, you also get to have a showdown with the Wild Hunt. If you're a fan of the Dresden Files, then yes, that Wild Hunt. The control scheme feels like they tightened it up, but it also feels as though they're catering to the console crowd. The game feels like it was made to be played with a controller without precision aiming, blocking, timing, etc., but it's still fun to play, if a little bit simpler than the previous games. What is truly impressive to me is how much there is outside of the main story that stays just as interesting and just as relevant as the search for Ciri. There are kings, emperors, criminals, zealots, witch hunters, spy masters, and more for you to interact with, for better or for worse. You don't really have to do any of the side quest stuff, you're not really forced into it, but you would be doing yourself a disservice not to. It is just that good. The game is huge. The scope of this game is hard to explain without experiencing it firsthand, but I guess I'll give it a shot. The prologue consists of a few hours. Just the prologue. Small little prologue area is going to take you a few hours before you actually get into the main story. There's close to 200 hours worth of content in this game if you would like to experience everything. There are 3 possible endings with over 30 different character variations added to said endings. The world itself is a hub-based open world. You have open world zones separated via fast travel and on-ship loading screens, but it sorta has to be. The world's 30 times larger than The Witcher 2. It's bigger than Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I mentioned earlier that I had unrealistic expectations for this game, and I am pleased to tell you that it has surpassed every single one. If you don't yet own this game, and you're a fan of open-world RPGs, then I urge you to get it. Myself, I'm probably going to go ahead and start another playthrough because there is stuff that I certainly missed. There are a couple of disruptive bugs for the consoles that have yet to receive patches, but most of it has already been worked out by patch 1.05. As of the time of this writing, the XP bug has been squashed, the save games work on all consoles, and performance has been further optimized on all systems. You may still run into an instance here or there when your horse is flying, but at least you no longer interact with the candles when you're trying to open loot chests. The no experience for low-level quest bug has been eliminated, the user interface has been shaped up. I truly wanted to pound on some of the negatives here, but given how long this review has taken to release, all of the nastier bugs have already been squashed. I would let that be a lesson to me, but I did nothing wrong. I'm not about to rush through a game of this magnitude. This is Deg from The Good Game Guys, and this is my favorite game on the Citadel. 10 out of 10, would bang.